Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. We are back. We are live at Squad Central, and this is our pre-season series kickoff. Let's rock and roll, squaddies. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Well, it feels good to be back, and I couldn't think of a better wingman to have with me upon the return of our live shows here at Highbury Squad. I almost forgot the name of the show, Mr. Tom Canton. Welcome back to Squad Central.
How we doing? Good to see you, as always.
It's good to see you too. I'm actually really hot right now. It's warm, and I've shut the doors. Don't have aircon in here. Our house is a little bit older. But enough about me. How are you? How's your summer so far?
It was good until yesterday. But I say it was good. I mean, a lot of stuff's happened, to be honest, and there's obviously, I'm very, very honoured, to be fair, so to be asked to get things back to normality in some ways here after obviously what has happened in the past few weeks and stuff. I think that it's yesterday would have. Do you know how annoyed Kev would have been watching yesterday's game? He would have been screaming at the telly.
Okay, so let me say, firstly, squaddies, good evening, at ease, every single one of you who's able to tune in tonight. We will get back to some normal schedule, but for those of you who've found us this evening, thanks, and to those listening on replay, thank you very much. It is impossible to watch a football match without wondering what he would be saying, and you're right, he would be absolutely Sophie. He'd be on that WhatsApp in our group. And I was actually thinking, if there was one player that Kev would have kind of really enjoyed, I think it would have been, even though he's a United player, I think he would have been really pleased to see the emergence of a young player like Kobe Manu in midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a great tournament. It's an England team that didn't perform too well at all, and I've been very vocal with my views on Gareth Southgate and the restrictions he puts on this England team, but yeah, he was definitely one that stood out for us.
Well, good evening, squaddies. Good evening. I'll put some of your little messages up. Rich is here. Afsfar's here. Chief Like Officer Tammy back in business. Dan Alpha is here. Harvey's here. Wesber, DJ Assassin, Carol, Trev. You're all here. Thank you so much for joining. Ian is here. Thanks to everyone for your continued beautiful messages. Seb, the whole gang, very much appreciated. And, one of the things that Kev would have always said is the show must go on. And I've had tremendous encouragement too from Tyrese and from Kyle as well to make the show bigger and better than ever. And that is going to be our attempt here on Highbury Squad. And we've got a brilliant week lined up for you. Before we get stuck into stuff with Tom here on Spend, Stick, Sell, we've got Potsy on Wednesday. We're rebooting the Get Off the Potsy show with him, and you'll be interested to know what his subjects are, his top 5 are. I know Tom will be like, I have a good idea of what they might be. Yeah, it's always going to be fun with Dan, so you don't want to miss that. And then on Thursday, and he'll be joining us a lot this season, we've got David Hillier for a new series, Beyond the White Line. And David is going to be taking us behind the scenes and into the mind of a player pre-season. What does it all mean? How does it compare from when he was playing to now? And so you'll enjoy that with Hilsey on Thursday. And then on Friday, sorry, Tom, but the podcaster of the week this week is Lee Judges.
Dear me. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel there, aren't we?
Oh, brilliant stuff. We'll be joined by Lee. We're going to have a conversation a little bit about everything. Our Friday shows are going to be a little bit different, and I'll tell you about that. And then, of course, Arsenal in America. Are you ready for the Arsenal tour? that is coming up. It starts next week, and I'll be bringing a whole bunch of stuff to you together with our boy Magic Mike as well. And just for fun, because I can't help myself to add more work to the load. I'm rediscovering and going back into my film and TV days, not only on a personal level for work, but I wanted to bring it here to you as well. So Showbiz Squad is going to be a new series coming to you this season, and I'm going to have a lot of exciting guests on, so you're not going to want to miss that. Tom, back to you and back to the tournament, but from an Arsenal perspective. It wasn't great, but if there was one player that maybe came out of it smelling like tournament roses, it's Saliba. I didn't think our other players had a particularly good tournament. What did you make of it for the players who went to the Euros and to Copa America as well?
Yeah, it was international football's always been very much a something I struggle to get passionate about. Just because obviously the passion, if there was like a pie chart of my passion for Arsenal compared to England, I barely think the England section would be visible. In fact, I watched the game with a lot of friends last night, and they were doing that classic thing of, would you rather England won the World Cup or the European Championship or Arsenal won the Champions League? I was like, I don't know why you're asking me. It's like, it's not even a question. It's just not a question, because obviously it's Arsenal, and I'm the only one in that group that has that answer. Everyone else in that group is very much like they want England to win the World Cup. There are a few Spurs fans not used to trophies, to be fair to them, but in terms of the tournament for Arsenal, I think the hope was, of course, that there wouldn't be any injuries as a primary. That was the primary hope. And I think for some fans who, again, aren't too keen on international football, probably been hoping that England and France and other nations that included Arsenal players got knocked out pretty early, of course, which didn't happen for quite a few of our players. Germany, Spain, England, and the like, getting quite far in the tournament, meaning that Saka and Rice and Ramsdale and Havertz and Raya and Saliba, of course, were getting quite far. But Saliba, you're right, was by far the standout. Brilliant defensive performances. All the talk before the tournament was about Konate, not necessarily being fit, but they didn't miss him at all. Even when he got back fit as well, he remained in the squad. I think there's an argument why Upamecano continued to play. He didn't have the best of seasons for Bayern, and Konate had an excellent season for Liverpool. So you could argue that maybe they probably should have been paired together. But France defended well; they just couldn't score goals. So Saliba did his job. It was the other end of the pitch where the likes of Kylian Mbappe failed to score. I think, did he fail to score all tournament, or got one? Maybe got one.
He got one goal. Did he get a penalty?
Yeah. I think it was a penalty.
They scored two when they got to the knockout stage. The quarterfinals, I think they had scored two goals, one penalty, and 2 goals from open play, which were own goals. But he got a penalty in the end, didn't he?
It was a penalty, yeah. I see it in the chat, DJ.
Oh, okay.
It was so easily forgettable. Like that, and Ronaldo, of course, didn't score a single goal. It was the tournament for the underdogs in a way, and I think Spain as well winning it quite a good emphasis of that point, because no one was really talking about Spain prior to the tournament. I mean, I've got my own affiliations and liking of Spanish football, so I'm more than aware of what they were capable of and what De La Fuente had obviously achieved and brought through a lot of the younger players into that group as well, the under-21 setup. So it's ironically kind of a similar pathway to Gareth Southgate, except he's a coach that actually, he's getting the best from that Spanish side as a unit. But you got a lovely mix of experience and winning mentality and Rodri, and then you've got the youth and excitement of Williams and Yamal. So yeah, it's a great tournament for them.
Tom, for me, listen, I know Zubimende had a great second half. By the way, I think he had a better second half than Rodri did a first half, but it looked like he was carrying the knock maybe even before he left the game. For me, Rodri, you can have your Mbappes. You can scream all you like about it. I know he's won the World Cup. It's similar with Jude Bellingham, right? Mbappe, surrounded by brilliant players in France at tournament level, shines, excels, does well. And look, he had a really good World Cup, single-handedly almost won it for France in the final. Jude Bellingham, surrounded by incredible players at Real Madrid. And I don't want to kind of rag on Jude Bellingham because I think the Athletic have done enough of that today. I don't like how our players are bashed in a way, but they do deserve some criticism. But Rodri, for me, is the best player in the world. I
struggle to disagree with you, yeah.
He is unbelievable. And I don't know, but I don't know, squaddies, if you agree with me or not. People let me know in the YouTube comments. What a player. And he deserved the player of the tournament. I don't even think it came close. You know, Copa America, I followed it here, covering it here. I thought it was an awful tournament. Absolutely one of the worst Copa Americas I've
Yeah.
ever seen. The Euros, there were a couple of incredible games. The Austria-Turkey game was
Oh, it's amazing.
sensational. That
Yeah.
was I think that was the best game of the tournament.
Yeah.
Um,
Germany
England had
Spain was good as well.
Germany-Spain was a quality game.
Mm,
England's last gasp goals, I
mm.
think, put a Band-Aid over the real problem,
100%.
right?
100%.
But I thought overall, where was the Yamal, Sean, Musiala for the time that he was in the tournament did? But there was no sexy football. There was a couple of, I don't know what it was. There was something missing from this
Mhm.
Euros for me. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I thought that the Euros, in 2021 was better. I think the Qatar World Cup had a lot more drama in it as well. I think that I don't know why necessarily. I think actually, I said lie. I do know why, and that's because ultimately the players are done. They are shattered. They are tired. They are fatigued. The season, the calendar is ridiculous. To get them to play a tournament so soon after the end of the season, and then Arsenal's players, I reported today, the expectation is that Saka and Rice will be back at Arsenal in 3 weeks, which 3 weeks is a long time in football, but it's not a long time to recover from 49 weeks of action, and then to play another 49 weeks before you get a slightly longer summer with no summer tournament off next time. And I'd almost ask, and I'd almost implore Arsenal to probably give them longer and to not throw them in even to the first Premier League game. And we should have enough quality anyway to beat Wolves at home without the likes of Rice and Saka. Personally, I believe that we should be able to do that. So I think that, the reason why these tournaments are getting worse is because the calendars are getting more demanding and ridiculous by the year.
Yeah. I mean, I get that Kev never accepted the fatigue argument. The squaddies would let you know. There's no excuses, but it has to come into play, and the
Yeah.
injuries and having to play through. I think it's less the amount of games they play, but it's how they're asked to play those games and the knocks that they carry throughout a season that eventually ride on you as a player, as a human being. And it's a shame for the US fans because they won't see Saka and they won't see Rice, and
Mhm.
rightly so.
Mm.
It was exciting last year because Rice had just been signed and
Yeah.
it really added to the flavor of the tour. But you're talking about two of our stars that won't be here. But will Havertz even be on the tour? I hope Havertz isn't anywhere near it. Trossard, I would
Believer as well.
understand. So yeah, I want to shift gears a little bit. This is spend stick sell. Try and say that quickly, everybody.
Spence Dixon.
If there's one England player, right, that didn't even kick a ball, save a ball, and as we move into spend stick sell here, and there's rumors about Southampton, there's rumors about whether or not he's staying or going. I think Aaron Ramsdale won the tournament without doing anything. And it's not my rose-colored glasses, Aaron, number on at all. You guys know how much I love and adore him. Talk about a team player made me think to myself, I know we can cash in on him, but players like that you need in your dressing room, picking you up when you're down, cheering you on whether or not you get picked, really rooting for people to do well even when you're not playing. His quote when he did the England piece the other day, I'm living 60 million people's dream and one guy's living my dream, but he's doing a great job of it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. The Ramsdale situation to this day still baffles me, like how we got to this situation from where it started, because he was so liked and so appreciated, and I've never seen a player perhaps gain a cult following as quickly as he did at Arsenal, and that comes from his personality and his performances and how he transformed the goalkeeping position for us. And it is a shame that it's not worked out. And I respect the decisions of Arteta to ruthlessly upgrade, even if it means even a small improvement in a role, and I think it is only small between Raya and Ramsdale. It is definitely an improvement, but it's not like it's not like going from, say El Neni to Jorginho as a depth option, in the team. It's not like that type of change, but it is, I think, still a credit to Ramsdale. And whenever I speak to anybody about him, or speak to people at the club, or speak to people close to him, the only words I ever get are ones of, he is the ultimate professional. And whilst he may not be happy, as we heard, from those very close to him, that he'd lost the famous quote being, he lost his smile. Despite that, and the mental struggles, I'm sure, that went alongside that, and I'm sure the birth of his first child will definitely have improved his mental state as well during that difficult year. But I think that just the way he's behaved has been impeccable, and he deserves to be a starting goalkeeper in the Premier League because he is that good. And so, therefore, I think that Arsenal will eventually get the money that they need to get, but at the moment it's not necessarily forthcoming because most of the big teams that can pay the money that we want already have starting goalkeepers. So it creates a difficult scenario.
And it's tough to say when you want to play, and this is no disrespect to Southampton, but after you play for a club like Arsenal, because you and I both know another Premier League club, not as high in stature as Arsenal, came in for him a few months ago. And Southampton, to me, for the quality we've seen and the fact that many of us think that, he could still challenge David Raya this season for that number one spot. You never know what happens in football. Is it a bit of a downgrade? But if they're willing to spend however many, millions on him, and it benefits the club and the club improve and you're able to improve the squad, then I totally get it as well. Just wanted your take on Ramsdale, because who is this? And why do I look old enough to be his grandmother?
He's only 18.
Tommy Setford. Listen, you know me, I'm always really honest. Educate me. Ajax, he's English. Who is he and why is he so special?
Now, I like to think that I know like a decent amount about footballers. But if you were to ask me, like, have I watched this guy play for Ajax's youth side? The answer is no. I haven't seen much, if only a few clips. However, from doing a little bit more digging and speaking to a few more people who know him a bit more, he is very much appreciated at Ajax, and they didn't want to lose him. And it does very much seem like it was the player and his desire to make this move happen that allowed this deal to happen. And Arsenal did have to pay over what they wanted to. There was an initial offer of 400,000 euros. I think it was initially not back, and now it's closer to €1 million to get it done. But I think Arsenal are going through a big refresh of this position in particular. They moved on 5 goalkeepers, I think it was. We lost Arthur Okonkwo, that is, not Brian, his brother, who's still with the youth team. You've got Ejaheri, who left, Cooper left, Grashik left, Hilson left, and Hein, while signing a new deal, is expected, I'm told, to leave on loan. And that's the plan for him this season. So that'd be another goalkeeper not at the club, plus Ramsdale's situation, of course, as well. So it leaves us in a very tough situation of needing to replenish that position. We've signed Lucas Neuland on loan. On a free after he left Nordsjælland in January after a successful trial. And now Tommy Setford appears to be the one. But the thing about Tommy Setford that's different to Neuland is that they seem to see him as a young goalkeeper with a potentially a big future. And it's one of these young guys you sign with the hope that maybe they could become something special down the line. But there's also interest in Dan Bentley, who you may come on to as well.
No, I have no picture for him, and I have nothing on Dan Bentley. This is why I was like, this was going to be my question. Who have I forgotten, and why haven't I? Because I wanted to talk to you about like Sambi's going, ESR 2 offers turned down.
Yeah.
I get an update on Calafiori and all that jazz. But Dan Bentley, talk to me.
Yeah, so Arsenal have already had one bid turned down. That bid is understood to be £50,000, which of course is an incredibly low amount of money in the context of a Premier League club like Arsenal. However, the context of that is the price that Wolves paid to sign him in the first place, and he's now gone down to 1 year left on his contract. So when you look at it like that, it does make a bit more sense. But I am told that Wolves are looking for considerably more than that. But also, Dan Bentley is you know, from what I've heard, is happy at Wolves, because obviously he's the number 2 there at the moment. Whereas he would be a number 3 at Arsenal with the expectation that either Ramsdale stays or is replaced. But I think that there is obviously a chance that Arsenal would be able to convince him to make that switch. He used to play for Arsenal at a much younger age, and the opportunity to move to a club like Arsenal at this point in his career, potentially for an improvement in his earnings as well, would be favourable. So whilst I don't think it's like the situation with Tommy Setford, who's clearly, you know, very much pushed for this move, Dan Bentley is still would be keen. But then there's two other goalkeeper. No, sorry, 2 other goalkeepers. Have you got pictures for the other 2?
I haven't prepared well,
No?
clearly. No, I was going to keep it top line, because when you said to me, you know, how I like to plan the show ahead.
Yeah.
And the goalkeeping situation to me seems a bit of a mess. We've
Yeah.
got 2 really good goalkeepers. You know, a few have left. We're talking to the Wolves goalie. Then I see my grandson, and, you know, I'm like, what's going on? I have no idea. I've been out the game. When I said I took time off, I really took time off. So forgive me, squaddies, for being ill prepared on the goalkeeping front. I have no pictures other than Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya, who I was going to congratulate for becoming a European champion. Also, without, well, he did play 1 game, didn't he? So it's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. Thank you, Chemo FC, for the picture. Go on, Tom.
Yep. So you got Juan Garcia, who is the Espanyol goalkeeper, 23-year-old Spaniard, very much appreciated by Arsenal's goalkeeping coach Iñaki Quina. Again, that's a deal that is looked at as a potential replacement to Ramsdale, so a number 2. But he's a younger goalkeeper, Spanish, so good for the training sessions. But I think that I think that he's more of a Espanyol on my Spanish team. And whilst I don't necessarily tend to watch second-tier Spanish football that often anymore, from being able to watch a few more clips of him, he does seem stylistically much more like what Arteta looks for. And then the other goalkeeper is Lunin, the Ukrainian international who's at Real Madrid.
Yes, him I know.
That one's a little trickier because his intentions are very much on trying to fight for a place in the Real Madrid team. Of course, they signed Kepa last season on loan from Chelsea, who could be moved to Saudi Arabia. I think Chelsea have already turned down 1 deal from them, but Lunin earned that spot from Kepa, despite being technically 3rd choice behind Courtois, who was injured, and then Kepa, and then Lunin. So Arsenal are appreciating him, but I think that'd be a difficult one to do.
He did a very good job when he was asked to come in. Let me ask you this before we shift gears here, Tom. With all the talk with goalkeepers and what we're looking at regarding Bentley and Stepford and is it Stepford? Yeah, I got that right.
Setford.
Setford. Yes. And Ramsdale. And is this fiscally going to all round out? Like, is it worth it? I mean, Ramsdale has the choice to leave. Obviously, I think that if he wants to go and not fight for his place, the club will let him go. The club want to make money. Is it all fiscally going to kind of roundabout come around in the sense that they're not all worth the same? So are we losing? Are we gaining?
Well, obviously, Arsenal spent 24 million plus add-ons to sign Ramsdale. They should make profit on that when they sell him. I'd be very disappointed if they didn't. All of the goalkeepers I mentioned that have left, all left on frees. They were all released at the end of their contracts, but they were, the majority of them, youth keepers, so it's not much of a surprise. Arsenal got in Nolin for free. They've got in Setford for a very small fee, around €1 million, or expected to complete that deal for around €1 million. And then, of course, a deal for the likes of Juan Garcia, I think, would be less than what we would pay, what we would get for Ramsdale. Lunin, I wouldn't be sure on the price tag, but I don't think that's likely to happen. Bentley would be extremely cheap, even if we need to pay more than £50,000 to sign him. So I think it will work out. But I guess the question mark fans will have is that if you sign a number 2, which either would be Juan Garcia or Lunin, neither of those I'd look at and go, yeah, you know, they are without question a competitor to Raya, maybe more so Lunin, but certainly not as much Garcia. And Raya himself hasn't necessarily convinced the whole fan base yet that he is, you know, the guy to be Arsenal, who could be a title-winning side and their goalkeeper. So, like, I'd personally rate Stefan Ortega as having a better season for Man City than Raya had, despite the fact that Raya ended up with the Golden Glove. And I've just been more impressed by Stefan Ortega's performances in the limited
played less games as well, didn't he?
He did, but played plenty of games because of Ederson's injuries. But I just think the shrewdness of City's business in that area of the pitch, has been very good. But also, there's an argument that there aren't too many options out there. But I think Dan Hot Potts is right, and I don't say that too often. In terms of Diogo Costa, Porto, who's a fantastic goalkeeper, and I think if you wanted to go and really blow the bank on a goalkeeper and get one in that is definitely among the elite goalkeepers in the world, Costa would be it. But he's not on the radar.
It seems to me that this is our Declan Rice in goal moment, right? I actually think David Raya won everyone over, as I assume. My mum taught me never to assume. The night in the Champions League, saving the pens, right? That was a seminal moment I felt for him that really connected him with the fans. I think that he had a fantastic season overall. You could pick out his mistakes, maybe glaring 3 or 4 of them. But I feel like this is our Declan Rice midfield moment. It's the Alisson Liverpool moment, the Van Dijk moment. Someone may scream for spending 72 million on Virgil van Dijk, but who's laughing at the end of it? It feels that way with our goalkeeping position. It's the same with the striker. I understand why some fans don't want to put all their faith and trust in Kai Havertz. If you want to win the league and City is the rival, you've got to have a prolific striker. Those 2 positions to me seem to be the final upgrade to make it happen. Would you agree or disagree with that?
No, I think you're right. I think if Arsenal had their own Alisson type deal, that'd be massive for them. And the centre forward position, if there was an option out there, which I don't see there being this summer in particular, other than Isak, who is sadly not available, he would have been that guy, I think, but sadly isn't gettable. No matter what people want us to spend and can write up their ins and outs with the amount of money they'd spend on each to make it happen, it's not realistic. I think that Arsenal's central midfield is the other area. For me, the central midfield is actually the most important area Arsenal needs to do business in this summer. But again, it's difficult to find in this particular summer market that standout player. It's such a strange window because there just isn't, like the previous years, the standout obvious candidates of Declan Rice last year, of Jesus the year before that, of Ben White and the like. The year before that, and Partey and Gabriel the year before that. There isn't. This is the first year under Arteta where we don't have a obvious long-term, we know Arsenal are going to be going for this guy in the summer, because it isn't there. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, I think the midfield is also very, very important.
Okay, so if we stick with the striker position for a little bit,
which I think
I'll encompass this in one bite for you here. Did we dodge a bullet with this guy, having seen him play at the Euros? Is Gyökeres, and by the way, for those listening on audio, that was Sesko. Is Gyökeres, pronounce his name, I'm sure I bastardized it, you and Albert. Gyökeres. Is Yoki realistic? And have you changed your mind at all about Ivan Toney and Watkins, having watched them come on for England?
Okay, so Sesko, no, we didn't necessarily dodge a bullet. He's a fantastic talent, and I think for the market value that he was at, which was around 52 million pounds, it would have been a really good deal for Arsenal had they have got him. I think it would have been a perfect profile, good age at that point to be an understudy and then take on that number 1 spot like he did for Leipzig last season at a very good level. And I think that Arsenal will continue to follow him despite him signing a deal. I don't think that is a story that will go away. I think if he continues to improve, Arsenal may go back. Because I personally don't predict Arsenal signing a striker during this window. I'd be surprised at this point now if they do. A key part of that is that Gyökeres, for instance, his price tag is 100 million euros because that's his release clause. That's how much Sporting want. I don't know if he's worth that because he's had one brilliant season where he scored a humongous number of goals and got a humongous number of assists for a striker. But it's a huge risk to pay that level of money after one season. And I cannot help but get Nicolas Pepe flashbacks to seeing his season for Lille and what he did there. And then we paid a huge fee and it didn't work. I shouldn't do that, but I can't help but think about that at times, especially when it's like a one season type situation. Because we have seen, Arsenal successfully bring in players that have had decent, one decent season and then go on to continue to do that. So I think that now with the Tony Watkins situation, Watkins, I'd love him, but he's not going to. Villa aren't selling him. But he's the only older profile striker that I genuinely would be very keen on. And Tony, no, has not changed my mind as an option. For me, as I say, he was in a position at Brentford where that system was completely tailored toward getting him the ball and getting him goals collaboratively. I don't get that feeling off him and his age profile. While similar to Watkins, I just don't think is worth the investment. He's just not of the. I just think that he's not of the required level for Arsenal to go in and sign a player for the next 4 to 5 years, which is what we need to do for the striker when eventually we get one, potentially longer. I just don't see that being worth it, to be honest.
Okay, so does this mean, and there was an exchange between Tammy and Carol just a few minutes ago, there's no movement on Eddie. There were rumours about Celtic, Crystal
Marseille are
Palace,
interested.
Leeds and Marseille. What's your take on Eddie? Does he, I mean, stick sell, I know what you want, but does he stay? Does he go? Without the additional striker, are we hoping Jesus is going to be lean and fit and a fighting machine, especially having rested this summer? What's your take on Eddie?
I think he'll go. There's always the chance that he won't, but I think that he recognises that his place and like his future with Arsenal is kind of, I don't see it going anywhere else. I don't see his minutes getting any higher. I don't see his position in the squad improving. I don't see a renaissance for his career at Arsenal, and I think that if a club that is willing to that plays at a good level, either in the Premier League or in one of the other top 5 leagues in Europe, is willing to take him and sells a project of him being a starting striker, he should go, and we should be looking to sell him and get upwards of 20-25 million pounds for him, in my opinion. So I hope it happens. I'm almost like I'm very much like 70-30 that it will happen. But you'd never say never in this window because we've just had players stay that we didn't expect to.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Sambi. Is that done? Is he gone?
He's gone. Yeah, confirmed. Yep. So is Tavares.
Okay, that's confirmed. Okay, Tavares, according to Derek Ray, gone.
Tavares.
So I'm not going to bother talking about players who have gone, guys. They're gone, baby, gone. That's it. They're done. Good luck to them. Hope they play well. Good stuff. Emile Smith Rowe. I think there was a time when a lot of Arsenal fans were feeling they couldn't cut the Hale End umbilical cord. But now, in true Arsenal fan fashion, quite a few of us, me included, want him to prosper, want him to play well. Don't think that's going to happen in this particular Arsenal 2.0 Arteta team. Turned down two offers. Is this all true, Tom? What's going on with
PSR? Yeah. It's very well sourced. Damesh at Sky reporting it first. It's been later been also reported by Sam Dean at Telegraph. I've not asked the question myself. It all came out after I finished shift and I was already well into my evening. But those two very well connected journalists. I have very little reason at all, if any, to doubt that that's the case. The amount of money that Palace and Fulham, in particular Fulham. I think Fulham's the one that's definitely bid. I don't know about the Palace side of things or how real an offer from them necessarily is, but the Fulham one's definitely been double sourced and double confirmed. I think that Arsenal would be willing to sell, but only if indeed a valuation that they have, which I hope but don't know is above £30 million. Is met, and the amounts that they've bid is currently not known. So let's see. But I think he will be very much entertaining those types of offers to get more regular game time and stay in London as well.
If we can get 35 million for Iwobi, we should be able to get 35 million for Emile Smith Rowe. Not as injury prone, but with the fact that he still has a bright future. And Fulham seemed to be the first club to really make that interest early on as the season came to a close. Tom as well. So what's the update with the Italian lad Riccardo?
Calafiori.
What's happening here? Is he a threat to this man and this partnership? Is he coming? Is he going? What's the update? What's going on?
This is one that I would be expectant will happen. So it's got all the right noises are coming out from this deal. It's just a case of Arsenal and Bologna now agreeing the fee. That seems to be something of a sticking point. There seems to be about €5 million difference in the valuation between the two sides. So we're hoping, of course, that it gets done because he is a very talented player. And I think that, as Tammy points out there, playing left back is probably the most likely scenario. I think we see him. That is the one position of the back four that isn't set. And I know that Jurien Timber has to come back and we are to see where his future lies. But he came on for Ben White on the final day, to play right back against Everton and helped us to win that game. And I was impressed by his cameo, and I think he's an impressive player. But he could also play left back. So the Calafiori has been excellent for Bologna. He was probably in a very poor Italian side the standout, along with Barella. So I think that it's a good deal for Arsenal to do. And a lot of the noise coming out of Italy is that they're very disappointed that he's leaving Italy. Italian players don't tend to leave Italy too often. It's probably of all the top 5 leagues, the one where you see the majority of players now stay, even perhaps more so than England, So whereas England used to be the key one where English players just didn't leave the Premier League, but we're seeing it a lot more now. And I think for him to leave and then for them to be making such a frustrated noise that he's not going to Juve or Inter or someone like that, it speaks volumes of his quality.
So now we're talking. We've got Kivior, who the rumors are, and someone put it up, Juventus, interest from Italy. Poland had a horrendous tournament. He didn't really get to show the best of himself. Hasn't really been on Arteta's radar since the Bayern Munich game killed him. It was over for him. So I said it then, and I'll keep saying it now. You've got Zinchenko, who I know a lot of Arsenal fans wanted gone. I don't see him going anywhere. You can correct me if I'm wrong. We got Timber, who is like a new signing, Calafiori, and of course Saliba, who also won't be seen on the US tour. Gabriel. We've got Tommy, who's injury prone, Zinchenko injury prone, but of course Benjamin is well rested. It seems like that to me. Other than Kivior, I'd like to make sure that Zinchenko... Am I crazy to want Zinchenko to stay?
No, I think that Zinchenko offers something that none of the other players you've mentioned that list offer. He's completely different to all of those. And I think sadly he's become something of a bit of a scapegoat last season for a lot of the criticism. I still rate him incredibly highly. I think he's very, very talented indeed and adds a lot and has added a lot and is a big part of the reason why Arsenal are now back amongst a title challenge, because it was his transformation on that left-hand side that helped us build the platform to get to this new position. If Arsenal would be open to a sale, and that's very obvious by the fact that there has been no attempt to really open communications regarding a contract renewal, and because he only has 2 years left on his deal, that is the point where Arsenal look at now and say it's name of the show, a stick or sell. That at 2 years, that's where Arsenal kind of make these choices on players, especially of that type of age bracket for Zinchenko. If indeed someone was to come in with an offer, I think they would entertain it depending on how big it is. But at the moment, there's not been too much in regards to noise about interested parties so far. But he's one of the types of players where I think opportunities may open up later on in the window. So sadly, you might not get your wish, Sophie. You might end up going.
And Tierney's too injured to even sell. I mean,
we don't have an update on him at all.
we
don't know how serious the injury is. We know next to nothing really on Tierney's situation.
Right now he couldn't fight his way out of a Tesco bag. Sorry, not sorry, but wow. Okay, we move on. Right, a few more minutes left here with Tom. We're going to be doing this Tom's going to be coming on for Spend Stick Sell. We're going to be getting updates from him. And, he's our Fabrizio Romano. He may not break the news, but he knows the news. I know you do, Tom. And the squaddies love it. Okay, so Mikel Arteta, his interview the other day, first big one of pre-season. Looked like he may have added a couple of pounds to me. I'm not saying, not being, sorry, women are under scrutiny all the time. I shouldn't do that. I take it back. His cheeks looked a little bit puffy. Just
mate, if I look, I'll be buzzing.
It's a different hunger and it's a different look. What did you make of Mikel's first big interview?
I liked it. I liked what he said about you know, that the players have come back and they're surprised at how they've managed to take things up another level already in the immediacy of this summer. So that speaks a lot. He's still got very much the message of last season was not good enough. Message of don't be satisfied with where we finished. These are all the right things that we want to hear. Yes, they're all words, you know, right now, and actions are more important. But Arteta has continued to deliver on his, you know, on what he keeps on saying. We've continued to progress under him. We've continued to improve under him, become more competitive under him, and he keeps making good on what he's saying. So it continues to be a positive direction, and he seems very motivated to take us forward. So the transfer news for me, I think, was unsurprising. Yes, I think the window's gone exactly how most people expected it to because of the tournaments and the PSR stuff. So it shouldn't be a surprise that things are quite slow right now.
And also, I mean, I'm not saying we're the complete team. We know that we need more players, better players. We've got to fight the City machine. But as we've been building season on season, probably from the Benjamin White, Tomiyasu window onwards, you do tend to need a little bit less. And especially as he's very comfortable with his starting 11 and he wants, you know, players who are going to come in and elevate us. And I just don't think he's willing to compromise. And unfortunately, I hope he doesn't kind of say or stick with, well, we've got Eddie. Well, we've got Reece Nelson. Well, we've got those are I think those players might be the non-negotiables for Arsenal fans when it comes to the transfer window. I wanted to get your take as well before we let you go on seeing these three in pre-season, which was, I thought I had Timber on there too, but I don't.
We got two. We cloned
him. Hey, who doesn't want to clone Martin Odegaard? Come on, let's be real. He looked bulkier to me, by the way.
Muscular. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked more muscular. It's a great sight, isn't it? Just seeing Timber with them, though. And the three of them looked in supreme condition. Not too much paella for them. But yeah, what are you getting excited? Are you there yet? Or just the rumblings of it all?
Yeah, of course. I'm longing for football to come back. You know, it's I'm as I said, but at the start of the show, come full circle. You know, I'm never the biggest fan of international tournaments because it's just not the same. I'm an England fan because I'm English, but like it's kind of just one of those things, and it's weird seeing rival team players score and you have to celebrate it. It's an odd feeling, but I do it. But it's just nowhere near as strong of a passion and love as club football is. So of course, I'm excited because Arsenal every single year under Arteta have moved forwards and. Based on that trend, how close we got last season, there's plenty of reason to be so excited about what they can do this season. Because that's if we're following this, continuation, there's reason to be really excited about what we might do.
And Tom, next week, I know they're all talking about here come the Olmo requests and here come the Nico Williams, and I think people need to just park that completely. He looks like he's going to end. How are Barcelona able to afford him anyway? By the way, I don't know how they do it. They just continue to do it. But the next show, we're going to get stuck in with Tom a little bit deeper on some other players. And then the likes of Vieira and, those questions are coming up. Well, who have I missed? Like, who's certainly out the door? Who's a seller?
I'm trying to think if there's
Have I missed anyone? I mean,
Vieira's a bit up in the air. Again, there's not been much interest in him. Zinchenko, we've touched upon. Smith Rowe. Thomas Partey, there's a lot of interest from Saudi Arabia, of course. He could. I'll be surprised if Partey was still here at the start of the season, but who knows? We may see out the final year of his contract. We've been there before. Reece Nelson is another player who could leave, and there is interest in him. And Arsenal have a reasonably high price tag of around £20 million, according to David Ornstein. So and obviously there's a lot of youth players like Charlie Patino, who also it could be is expected to leave this summer. So let's see. Hopefully in a week's time we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Okay. Good stuff. Tom, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And by the way, I knew I had a picture of Timber. I just knew I had it somewhere. I had to just prove that to myself. I want to get stuck in next week. I want to talk a little bit about some of the players that need to perform better next season. And that includes one player who did go to Copa America in Martinelli and also Jesus. I feel like this could be an absolutely massive season, not only for Martinelli improving that, he's a lot better than he was last, but also for Gabriel Jesus. And I think he could be a monster for us this season. A little bit forgotten last, and Arsenal fans tend to forget very quickly about what he's done for the club since he arrived. Let everyone know what you're up to, what you're doing, and are you feeling better? I've had a lot of messages from your listeners saying, gosh, I see Tom's on your show tonight. I hope he's okay. Could you reassure your fan base, please?
Yeah, I'm good. It was just a kind of an emergency, not even like an emergency, just one of those where you're like, I just want to go get checked out. So I didn't feel great. So I did. It did mean obviously a spontaneous cancellation of this morning's show. So apologies for that. And obviously those that don't read the community tab on the page, there was no other way where people would have known. So everyone was a little bit worried. But thank you for all the kind messages that have been sent through. I'll be back tomorrow morning as usual at 8 a.m. And
of course you will.
It doesn't mean that the 1K everyday like challenge is over because it only counts for shows that we do. So that will continue on. But yeah, 8 a.m. tomorrow, bright and early. And I'm looking forward to the pre-season tour starting as well.
There were some of your listeners who were trying to get your post and your community page up to 1K for you.
I saw them.
Hopefully.
I saw them trying. I was like, yeah, good luck with that. You need me to like drill it into people to like the videos and posts. And
love
stuff.
it.
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks, Newman. By the way, that was very sweet of you, sucking up as per usual. It wouldn't be the same if he didn't, and I've missed it, to be honest. And Tammy, thanks everyone. Thanks so much, squaddies, for tuning in. And do hit that like button on the way out. I'll be back live on Wednesday with Potsy at 9 o'clock. So don't miss that. And in the meantime, go over and watch Tom's show tomorrow morning. Have a great night. It's good to be back. Thank you so much. Love you all. And until then, squaddies, at ease, at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.